This week on Jersey Matters, will New Jersey see the long lines at the gas stations that other states are suffering because of that pipeline cybersecurity breach? We asked Michael Garrity, Cybersecurity Director for New Jersey. A hiring crisis is brewing at the Jersey Shore. Businesses are open, but the employees aren't coming back. The annual summer beach sweep at the Jersey Shore finds some unusual items. And vinyl is back and bigger than ever. We'll take you to two of the most popular record stores in New Jersey. Hello and welcome to Jersey Matters. I'm Larry Menti. We begin with that cyber attack on pipelines that serve New Jersey and a dozen other states. Here's my interview with Michael Garrity, Chief Information Security Officer for New Jersey. Sir, thanks for spending the time. We now have what's amounting to a crisis on the East Coast and down south. It may be a gas crisis coming up because pipelines were affected by a cyber attack. And I guess let me start with the question I think most people are asking. How could this happen?
So there's a lot of ways that it can happen, and you know, cybersecurity is very complex, and you can't defend against every threat vector that's out there. So there's a number of different ways that ransomware gets into a system, and we talk about some of the main ones. Obviously, phishing emails, as we've heard before, where there's an attachment that is malicious. There may be vulnerabilities in externally facing, you know, hardware or software, those types of things, and there may be credential compromise, and you know, those are all vectors that threat actors can access. A pipeline, you know, just like Colonial or any other type of organization. So they're common threat vectors that we see on an everyday basis.
Yeah, when I say how could this happen, I don't mean the mechanics of it. I mean a pipeline is so important. The power grid is so important. There are things that are important to our national security. I would think the Colonial Pipeline would be one of those things. Is the government not protecting these entities? Is it all done privately?
The government provides some protection, but it's really up to private sector organizations to protect their own networks. It's a little bit different when we talk about physical attacks. So if there was another country that was to launch a bomb into the United States, obviously the government protects against those things. But cyber attacks are very hard to protect against, because while we can maybe attribute this to a Russian threat actor group, that Russian threat actor group may be working from, you know, computer systems inside the United States, and we wouldn't see that if we were just looking for foreign attacks.
What do you know about this group that's behind this attack?
So it's a group called the Dark Side, and I want to say it's not just one group. Dark Side is ransomware as a service. So there are threat actors that gain access into a network, and they may buy the ransomware as a service from this dark side group so that they can now place ransomware on that impacted network. So there's various groups that sell services out there on the dark web and these illicit type services. So just to say it's one group is not fair. There's a consortium of them out there, almost like terrorists that work in individual cells. One may not know what the other is doing. The bomb makers may not know who's planting the bomb. Same thing happening here with cybersecurity, with individual groups doing different attacks against networks.
So when the president says that there is no evidence that Russia is behind this, even though this is allegedly a Russian group, you see evidence of that, though? You believe that's true?
I don't know at this point, and I think there's still more information that has to come out, and I don't want to speculate. Are we saying it's a nation state actor that is sponsored by Russia? I don't think the president is saying that. I don't think anybody's jumped into that conclusion. Criminal groups, you know, operating in Russia or any other country can carry out these attacks just like they were here in New Jersey or down in Atlanta, Georgia, where this is happening. It's the locally ubiquitous nature of the internet that you can carry out attacks from anywhere, and you don't have to be a nation state. You You do not have to have all those resources to carry out these types of attacks.
Have you been in contact with the feds and with all of the other people in other states?
Yes, we've been working together, federal, state, and private sector partners here in New Jersey, monitoring the situation as it's happening, also making sure that we're mitigating any collateral impacts to New Jersey and mitigating any risks that we have here.
What is going to happen in New Jersey now? Do you know?
So what is going to happen? We continue to be active in monitoring the situation, making sure the supply chain is not interrupted here, making sure that we've got supplies. And right now it looks like we're in pretty good shape. And projections are by the end of this week that the pipeline will be up and running and we'll have de minimis impact here. But down south, as you said, they're already feeling some of the impacts with the supply chain for gasoline.
Well, that's good to know. This was really a wake-up call, wasn't it?
I hope so. I hope it gets the public's attention that it's not just some cyber incident that's impacting one organization. As I said before, this is one of those events where the impacts are being felt by the public, and it's having real world impacts on their lives.
Michael Garrity, Chief Information Security Officer for New Jersey. Still to come on Jersey Matters, a police officer is fired after posting that Black Lives Matter are terrorists. We'll speak with her attorney next. In Manahawkin, a few hundred showed support Monday for a school nurse who was suspended for showing up to work without a mask. Nurse Erin Pine was protesting the Stafford Township School District's mask mandate that she calls child abuse. Despite the community support, the Stafford Township School Board voted not to renew the nurse's contract for next year. Welcome back to Jersey Matters, now to Hopewell Township, where Sarah Irwin, a veteran police officer, was fired for posting on Facebook that Black Lives Matter are terrorists. And Mandy Gray, the first ever woman sergeant in Hopewell Township, was suspended and demoted for liking the post. Here is the attorney for both women, Frank Crivelli. Sarah, thanks so much for spending time with us today to try to explain what is a strange case. Why don't we start at the beginning? Tell us what happened.
Sure. In regard to the facts, Larry, I'll go through the facts with you as far as that happened. Back in early June, subsequent to the demise of George Floyd, there were a number of protests that led to riots in the city of Trenton. The township of Hopewell had to provide mutual aid, and as a result of them providing mutual aid, they had to send officers into harm's way. Subsequent to that, Sarah Irwin, my client, patrol officer Sarah Irwin, put a post up on Facebook. The reason why the post was made was during her previous shift, which was a 12-hour shift, she received numerous telephone calls, emails, text messages from family members asking her if in fact she was safe given the proximity of Hopewell is to the city of Trenton. She put the post up, she made the comment the way in which she did, and then thereafter, Sergeant Mandy Gray, it was a few hours after, actually showed support to her, and I guess you could say she hearted on the post. Is
like the post, yes. Yeah, I got it.
The Facebook term. And subsequent to that, there was an anonymous letter that was turned over to the township, and it led to an internal affairs investigation, which led to the discipline.
Let me get more specific about what was posted, because I've read the post, and she was talking about her children who were crying and saying they didn't want her to go to work because they were watching what was happening across the country on television. And she was taken aback that so many people were praising the Black Lives Matter and praising what was happening. And she asked people to be careful. And then she said at the bottom of a long post, Black Lives Matter are terrorists. That's the line that got her in trouble in this long post. She does have free speech, and there are other people on national newscasts that are saying that Black Lives Matter are terrorists. It's an opinion that's out there. It's not like she was a complete outlier. What were the reasons they gave her for punishing her for making a post on her own Facebook page?
Sure. The reasons that were provided to her was that she violated the social media policy. That's what, in fact, it was. They do have a social media policy, the Township of Hopewell, and they specified that she did violate that policy. In my opinion, was there a violation? I don't believe so. But putting the best case forward for the Township of Hopewell, let's say there was a violation of the policy. It's a small infraction. And at best, it should be what we call in New Jersey a minor disciplinary action.
And where is it right now? It's not a minor disciplinary action, right?
Right now, the Township Committee made the decision that they were going to go with the maximum penalty, which is termination from employment. Yeah.
Really? That's what you're fighting at this point?
Absolutely. We're fighting termination for employment for Sarah Irwin, Patrol Officer Sarah Irwin, and Mandy Gray, who hearted on the post. She's a sergeant, 21-year veteran of the department. Again, no disciplinary actions whatsoever, not even a single internal affairs investigation ever lodged against her. She was suspended for employment for a period of 6 months and demoted from the rank of sergeant to patrol officer.
Is there a double standard in that police officers are attacked for saying some things where others would not be attacked for attacking police officers the same way?
I think when you look at the way that the media portrays the Black Lives Matters movement as compared to why or how they're portraying the law enforcement officers of this country, yeah, there's undoubtedly a double standard.
Where is the case now? What's the next step, and what do you believe? Do you believe you have hope of success in this? How far are you willing to take it?
We are going to take it as far as we have to take it, Larry. We have tremendous support from the local, meaning the Hopewell Township Police Department. And that goes not just from the rank and file officers and the superior officers, that goes all the way up the chain. The action that was taken by the Hopewell Township Committee is not supported by the department at all. We have tremendous support from the New Jersey State PBA, who is backing the officers 100%, and we will take it as far as we have to. Right now, the case is at the Superior Court of New Jersey in Mercer County. We filed for what's called a de novo review of the case. And it's going to go, basically, we're going to have a new hearing in front of an independent hearing officer who is a Superior Court judge. So we're much more confident than we were in regards to the departmental hearing, just simply for the fact that this is going to be the first time that we have an independent hearing officer, meaning that Superior Court judge, hear the case. Whereas the last hearing that we had a hearing officer who was hired by the township, chosen by the township, and his services were paid for by the township.
This is a First Amendment case, so this could go to the Supreme Court.
It has the possibilities and implications of doing so. Yeah, it does.
Well, let's see if that happens. But as you keep moving forward with the case, let's talk again. Frank Crivelli, attorney at the law firm Crivelli and Barbati. Next on Jersey Matters.
Right now, the boardwalk is still relatively empty, but as the summer season approaches, employers here at the Jersey Shore are facing a major issue. We'll tell you all about it next.
Welcome back to Jersey Matters. The Jersey Shore is open for business, and a record crowd is expected this year. Business owners were excited until they tried to hire staff. Jersey Matters' Jennifer Marin tells us about a possible hiring crisis at the shore. Jennifer.
Help wanted signs. This is the new normal at businesses across the Jersey Shore. Now, most summers, employers tell me that people are walking right through the door asking for a job. But this summer, that's not the case. We're just weeks away from the start of the summer season at the Jersey Shore. And already, JR's Ocean Bar and Grill is starting to see some customers. Right now, manager Helen Stewart is handling business just fine. But she's worried about finding employees for the summer months.
We can't find anybody. Nobody that wants to work.
Helen says in previous years, she's had no problem finding help. But this year, her job postings are getting little response.
We've had it on Facebook, signs up, everything you could think of, any kind of social media. And if you're lucky, if you get one person coming up.
Tony Voss, mayor of Seaside Heights, says to him, it's clear why this is happening.
I believe that the unemployment, the way it's set up right now, where a person would get their normal unemployment plus $300, has an effect.
Voss says despite raising wages, the restaurant industry is being hit particularly hard.
Food handlers, servers, dishwashers, sweepers, you name it. They can't get them.
He also adds that senior citizens who would typically make part of the seasonal workforce aren't applying for fear of catching COVID-19 in the summer crowds. But restaurants aren't the only ones feeling the shortage. Maria Saltzman is the marketing director of Casino Pier.
We have the water park, arcade, rides, food stands, bars, go-karts. So there's a lot of positions to fill for the summer. We usually fill between 500 and 600 for seasonal workers, and we're still short about 200 workers.
Further south, Vicki Clark, president of the Cape May County Chamber of Commerce, says their $6.9 billion tourism industry is in desperate need of workers.
We have people not showing up for job fairs. We have people not showing up for job interviews.
With little luck hiring locally, employers were hopeful the J-1 visas would make a comeback this year. The visas allow foreign college students to work in the United States seasonally. According to Vicki, they usually fill 5,200 positions across the Jersey Shore.
We're very disappointed that the Biden administration has not been willing to work with us to have some of the restrictions on that program lifted.
But Vicki says there's still time, and they hope J-1 students from countries with less restrictions will be able to work this summer. Back in Seaside Heights, Helen remains optimistic.
As long as the weather's good, and it'll be a great summer, and hopefully it all works out in the end, but we really need help.
Apart from raises, Mayor Voss tells me there's talks of providing a new incentive to workers, perhaps even in the form of an end-of-season bonus. For now, reporting in Seaside Heights for Jersey Matters, I'm Jennifer Marin.
All right, thank you, Jennifer. Coming up next, we continue our coverage at the Jersey Shore.
I'm Phil Andrews. Will the low employment numbers affect the casinos here this summer at the Jersey Shore? I'll have that story for you coming up on Jersey Matters.
Welcome back to Jersey Matters. We told you about the hiring crisis at the Jersey Shore. And of course, in Atlantic City, casinos are being hit hard. Jersey Matters' Phil Andrews went to AC to find out firsthand what's going on. Phil.
The Atlantic City Boardwalk was certainly a bit quiet on this particular day, but the Memorial Day weekend is just around the corner, which of course will draw thousands of visitors. Unfortunately, businesses and casinos may have an issue catering to those crowds as they currently struggle to fill thousands of job vacancies.
Yeah, last I heard there are close to 2,000 openings across the casinos. And there potentially could be more as capacities start expanding, because you're still limited to meeting room space capacities, entertainment space capacities, and as they expand, you'll be able to bring more people back. But right now, they're looking for at least 2,000 people to fill a variety of different positions. It's been incredibly challenging for them.
There are great job openings right now in Atlantic City. And this is something that a lot of people don't know. More people come to Atlantic City every year than to the Magic Kingdom, which allegedly is the happiest place on earth. Most people don't know that.
Harry Hurley is not only a talk show host at WPG Radio here in Atlantic County, but also spent 9 years working in the casino industry, so knows a little bit about what casinos are looking for.
If you're a 4-diamond, 4-star hotel, there's a certain level of service that you want to provide. You have to have the staffing at all levels: front services, the bell, door, the front desk, your guest services, your PBX operators, and of course, all the restaurant staff.
Now, the casino's inability to draw in potential employees is not for lack of trying, because most of them do host job fairs. But for a multitude of reasons, people would rather stay home. And for some, well, that may come back to bite them in September.
In order to qualify for unemployment for seasonal employees, you must work 20 weeks in order to qualify for that seasonal unemployment. Like we said, that expires on September 7th. So they have to go back to work, or if, as a seasonal employee, they won't qualify for unemployment after that September 7th date. That's a realistic slippery slope that could put people on welfare that we certainly do not want to see.
But at some point, if you're able-bodied, you have to go back to work, because that's what this country is all about. If you're able-bodied and you're working, then you're growing. If you're just sitting around and direct deposit is happening and you're able to work and you don't, that's not good for the individual. So it's good for society to get back to work. The benefits have been great. The government did the absolute right thing. We didn't know the extent of this pandemic and what it would mean, but we now do. We now have therapeutics. We have the vaccines. I think that we say we're going by the science, Phil, then we need to go by the science.
And so casino owners are gambling that the employment numbers change just enough to get them ready for the start of the super busy summer season. In Atlantic City for Jersey Matters, I'm Phil Andrews.
So I'm a local and I chose Spring Lake because it's one of the most picturesque seashore towns in the world.
It's really charming. It's got that just small town shopping flair.
It's a great little community, very supportive of each other. There's so much to offer here, and we've had several stores that are now opening.
But originally it was a very Irish town, still is, but it's nice to see it's more of a melting pot now, and we get a lot of commuters actually to the city that we're noticing over the last few years. You know, they come, I think, just because they hear it's a nice town, but once they get here, they realize, you know, how beautiful it is.
The fact that the ocean is 2 blocks away and the stunning lake all within, you know, a block of each other.
You know, of course, you have St. Catherine's Cathedral there. It's just wonderful, wonderful to visit.
It's just a wonderful place to be, and you feel very safe.
You know, we have it all. We're very, very fortunate, very fortunate.
Welcome back to Jersey Matters. I'm Larry Menti. With a record number of job openings and a record number of people being released from prison because of the pandemic, we thought it was a perfect time to check in with former Governor Jim McGreevey, who is now chairman of the New Jersey ReEntry Corporation that helps those released from prison to find jobs, to find careers. Here's my interview with former Governor Jim McGreevey. Governor, thanks so much for spending some time with us today. I thought about you because with your reentry program, you train people who have spent time in prison to have meaningful lives, to get jobs, and that helps them better their lives and better society at the same time. However, now we have this situation where there are so many jobs available that nobody can fill. Can you fill them at this point?
Well, Larry, that's our goal. And obviously for people coming home from prison or coming home from county jail or addiction treatment, I mean, these men and women need to work, and they need to work relatively quickly. So our goal is to identify all those businesses where there are job openings, understand which specific skills are required, whether it's a commercial driver's license, a driver's license, HVAC, and then identify the persons. So the old way, if you will, of coming out of prison, you get a job at a warehouse or at a local restaurant. If you survive 6 months, let alone 6 years, it was a blessing. Now what we understand is it's important to have the industry recognized credentials. So you have the expertise to keep the job. And that's so important. And so the whole goal is that you're going to be able to succeed and build from platform to platform of increased skill development so that you can improve your own sense of self-sufficiency.
Recently, the 9 casinos got together and they had a jobs fair, 1,800 jobs, 20 people showed up. You would think with that kind of demand, people would be reaching out to you. Is that happening?
Well, that's happening. And I just want to, if I could give a shout out to Jim Pelosis, Jim, who's the chairman of the Casino Control Commission. And he's been somebody who's really committed to working with the reentry population, so that we need to understand that where a young man was or young woman was when they were 17 or 18 or even 24, people learn, people begin to develop. And that's why we do a lot of work with people that are historically have suffered from heroin addiction or fentanyl addiction. They're in a sober place. They're being healthy, they're being responsible, they're supporting their children if need be. And so now they need that second chance. So part of that second chance is, go back 20 years ago. You had a criminal conviction, there's no way that you would be on the casino floor. But thanks now to Jim Pelosis, formerly the chairman of the State Parole Board, but now in a leadership position at the Casino Control Commission, they're looking at people who have had historically offenses to give them that second chance opportunity. We have people that want to work, that need to work. Let's provide them the skills. So that's why we just opened, and I appreciate your time, the first in the state New Jersey Reentry Training and Employment Center.
Yes, let me interrupt you for a second, because I'm not sure you're answering the direct question. You're talking a lot about—
It wouldn't be the first time as a former recovering politician.
What I'm trying to get at is you keep saying there's there's opportunity. They're looking at, we have these relationships. I guess I'm looking for cold hard facts.
Oh, hard facts, yes. I mean,
there's, let me phrase the question. There's this huge need right now. Are you filling that? Are they allowing you to help fill that?
Yes, but what they want, which I would argue is fair, they want certification as to their background. They want certification as to their behavior in terms of their sobriety. They want certification in terms of their driver's license, and they want to make sure that they have skill. So to be fair, I mean, at the end of the day, Larry, it's my long-term relationship. And whether I'm delivering or whether I'm ensuring that the persons I send to, whether it's Jim Pelosis or Jim Appleton at New Jersey Car Dealership, I need to make sure that they have their driver's license, that they are sober, that they have been trained. So the answer is yes. We just had a cohort of people that moved through mechanic training. Every single person who graduated from the program got a job. It's the difference between having a job and having a career. We had over 123 guys lined up taking Cisco certification. Now, if I can help this young person get in a job that they're sincerely interested in, and they see the prospect of increased training and getting better, that person is going to have successful reentry. That person is going to live a law-abiding life.
Is it possible to fill some of these jobs that are open right now so that the people that you have in your program can get a paycheck and still train them?
So that's what we do. We work with municipal and county DPWs so that Jim McGreevey comes out, say, for example, in the city of Newark, Mayor Baraka will give me a 6-month temporary job in DPW to stabilize me. And the purpose is, I'll catch up on my bills. I'll be able to afford a place to live. I'll be able to have a meal ticket. And I'm going to school at night so that after 6 months, I then move into employment. And that's why this training center is so important. I agree with a job is essential, but we've got to be in the business of providing people with careers that they're interested in. To go to what Larry just said, there are 1 million manufacturing jobs today in America that aren't being fulfilled. They are perfect. Guys coming out of prison want to be in the manufacturing business. They need to be trained, and that's what we're doing.
Wonderful. And I have to end it because
You're good, but you got me. I love the pushback.
Nobody can say that you're not passionate about this.
No, but I love the pushback, Larry, because it's good for the clarification. So I'm grateful.
Oh, wonderful. I'm grateful to you for spending the time with us today.
No, thank you.
Former Governor Jim McGreevey, now chairman of the New Jersey ReEntry Corporation. Still to come on Jersey Matters, when you clean up the Jersey Shore, you're going to find some unusual stuff. We'll tell you about it next. Welcome back. Every year for 35 years, the New Jersey environmental group Clean Ocean Action has been cleaning up the beaches at the Jersey Shore with the help of a few thousand volunteers. And this year was no exception. Here is Allison Jones, program director at Clean Ocean Action. Allison, thanks so much for spending some time with us today. I know that your organization just had a beach cleanup. How did it go? What did you find?
Thanks so much, Larry, for the opportunity to be here today. We had our spring beach sweeps on April 17th this year, and it was truly beyond anything we could have imagined. We had 5,500 volunteers registered to participate, which was truly incredible. And that's actually, if that many people turned up to the beaches on that Saturday, that may exceed a record that we had even pre-COVID.
And what did you find?
Well, we found all the usual suspects, plastic pieces, plastic caps, cigarette filters, cigar tips, all these, smaller pieces of plastic that are so prevalent out on the beaches. But we also found a decent amount of PPE, disposable face masks, reusable face masks, rubber gloves, disposable wipes were all certainly in abundance, unfortunately, out on the beach.
I know every year you put out a list of the bizarre things you find. What did you find this year?
So at the 2020 beach sweeps, we had some interesting finds, as always. You just never know what's going to turn up. A check for $81 is one of my favorites, mainly because it's so hard to even find anyone who writes a check anymore. And then to find a written out one at the beach is very interesting. A New Year's Eve party hat and a cocktail shaker, which I don't think were found on the same beaches, but people having their parties out on the beach. Sign of the times for sure was a Trump 2020 flag that made its way to the beach. Someone's wedding souvenir glass was out there. Toys, we always find a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. And some of the stranger, more personal things, we did find a pregnancy test, a back scrubber, just all manner of bizarre things finding their way.
Was the pregnancy test positive or negative?
We did not get that report back.
Let me talk about something a little bit more serious and something I know that you've been dealing with. There is a fish kill going on in the rivers in Monmouth County. I suspect there's other counties involved too. But what is happening?
Yes, so there's been an ongoing fish die-off in Monmouth County, specifically in the Navesink and Shrewsbury rivers, or the two rivers area, as well as the Barnegat Bay. And so the DEP has been keeping track of these die-offs since actually going back to November. But starting around end of March and early April, the severity really increased, and we started to receive many reports from citizens of really thousands of dead fish that are now washing up on the shoreline. They're in mats in the rivers. I mean, it's truly heartbreaking because you're seeing the fish as they're dying, they're spinning in circles coming up to the surface. So the DEP at this point has confirmed that it's a species of bacteria called Vibrio anguillarum. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And it's specifically a bacteria that targets fish. And in this case, what we've been observing is that the bacteria has been only impacting and killing menhaden, also known as bunker.
It's not dangerous for humans?
Well, the DEP has released guidance suggesting that people should be really cautious if they're going to handle fish, if they want to clean them up off their property, that they should wear protective gear. And particularly for immunocompromised people, or if you have an open wound, you should certainly avoid contact with the water. And really for anyone in general, it's just safer to avoid contact with the water. That's the information that the DEP has put out at this point.
Well, I know your next beach sweep is in October. Are you always looking for volunteers?
Of course, October 23rd, we have our fall beach sweep. We'll have locations at anywhere from 60 to 70 locations up and down the state, all the way up in Bergen County and down to Cape May and back around in the Delaware Bay. So we're always open to volunteers, and it's a great COVID safe event where you can be outside and gather with your family and friends and feel safe and comfortable and do something positive for the environment.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thanks for the time today. Allison Jones, Program Director at Clean Ocean Action. Next on Jersey Matters.
Small businesses have been impacted since COVID-19, that's no secret. But we'll tell you about an industry that is booming. Coming up next on Jersey Matters.
It's obviously no government secret that we have been stuck in this boring, dull, overcast, and at times much cooler than average pattern. I pulled a few strings and Mother Nature has agreed that she's gonna let it vanish. We're gonna head in a much better direction. Overall, the weekend is looking good. The meat and potatoes, outside of a few passing clouds and a spritzer sprinkle, will be good. And better news than that, sustainable warm temperatures coming the way for you spring lovers out there. If you've been waiting for it, I can finally deliver on some promises. We got this backdoor surge of warmth that's going to be coming in across the northern tier of the country, extending in the Ohio Valley and into the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic. As long as we got high pressure in control, any substantial wet weather is going to be pushed down to the south, but your 7-day outlook is going to show you a chance of showers entering on Monday and Tuesday. Temperatures will be incrementally warmer. Look at that, Thursday and Friday trending into the 80s. I'm meteorologist Nor'easter Nick for Jersey Matters.
Welcome back. The pandemic has caused many of us to be nostalgic for the good old days. So maybe that's why, while other small businesses are suffering, Kimberly Kravitz found 2 stores that are doing quite well. Kimberly.
It's no secret that small businesses have been hard hit since COVID-19, but geez, take a look around. The Princeton Record Exchange business is booming, where people can go and find their favorite classics, but also sell their old classics for a small profit.
Business overall has been startlingly good.
When COVID-19 hit, live entertainment was canceled and many musicians were torn apart by financial strain. But according to Nielsen's Music Annual Industry Report, vinyl sales were up 45% nationally when the pandemic struck.
Well, I think in a way, that isolation of COVID, that staying at home, that not losing all your favorite haunts, not being able to go out to eat, not being able to go to the movie theaters, what's left to do? And a place like ours really gives a very satisfying tactile experience. The flipping through the stacks, looking at the liner notes, like we want physical contact with the world. And again, for a store like ours, we're well positioned to satisfy that need.
We've been here for 51 years.
Now, with different decades, right, of music and generations of people, how has business ebbed and flowed over the years?
It's changed a lot. We had vinyl, and when we thought vinyl was gone, we just got rid of it. And then vinyl, of course, came storming back eventually.
However, at first, independent record store owners such as Princeton Record Exchange and Jack's Music Shop in Red Bank felt the impact of the COVID lockdown in their businesses too.
The rent keeps coming, the electric keeps coming, the phone keeps coming, the insurance keeps coming. Health insurance for my people, which I still paid for because I didn't want to kick them off health insurance and fire them in the middle of a pandemic. So our 40th anniversary, the actual day, was March 20th. The next day, the state shut down indefinitely. I fired everybody. So that was my celebration. So, well, with 2 people, I counted part-time. So out of 17 people, 40 years, and blam, we're not allowed to do business.
And now, thankfully, their doors have reopened and have rehired nearly 20 employees. But with 5,000 square feet of records and tapes stacked high, how do they manage to keep everything clean?
Plexiglass shields between the cash registers and the customers. We're doing hourly surface cleanings of all high-touch areas. We've installed Purell hand sanitizer displays both at the front and over by the new arrivals, which is one of our more popular areas.
In our fast-paced Spotify and Apple Music world where everything is right at our fingertips, how do record stores compete?
I have as much music as that's in a store on my phone. So, I mean, a lot of people it's the ease of that, you know? I mean, I have Apple Music and I listen to it all the time. Vinyl sounds better. I mean, I'm 59 and my ears are shot, so like CDs sound fine. And if I want to listen to something too, like I don't mind streaming something if I really want to hear something.
Our online at this point is hovering around 3% of business. So while we enjoy it and it gives us an opportunity to sell rarer, more esoteric items that might have a more far-flung audience, by and large our emphasis has always been selling in store.
They tell me that people were even purchasing gift cards to these stores without any certainty that they would ever open again. And boy, do they have tons to sort through now.
These are new arrivals. This is stuff that's come in here. It's Doobie Brothers. That's a great album. You know, Joe Piscopo, New Jersey guy.
What is it? What does it run? If I wanted to.
Well, sure. This is $2.99, and I think the Doobie Brothers is $2.99.
So while you're doing your spring cleaning and you come across some unwanted items, I suggest that you bring them here to the Princeton Record Exchange. That way someone else has the opportunity to appreciate these items all over again. Reporting from Princeton for Jersey Matters, I'm Kimberly Kravitz.
Thank you, Kimberly. And Kimberly tells us that this year, because of the pandemic, there are going to be 2 National Record Store Days that are very popular, June 12th and June 17th. They're doing 2 this year to avoid the crowds. My commentary is next. Political tribalism is destroying the country. The idea that you have to walk lockstep with your political party or you're a traitor and need to be punished is just wrong. Look, I understand politics where people can vehemently disagree, but we've never had this kind of political divide where there can be no dissenters, no free speech, no disagreement without retribution. It is un-American, it's undemocratic, and legendarily dangerous.
My allegiance is to the Republic, to democracy! If you're not with me, then you're my enemy.
A lot of parallel truths come from Star Wars. Republican Wyoming Congresswoman Liz Cheney is the latest to get punished for going against the tribe. Now, Liz Cheney is the daughter of former Republican Vice President Dick Cheney and is as Republican as you can get. But she voted for the impeachment of Donald Trump and called him a liar for saying the 2020 presidential election was stolen, and for that, the tribe expelled her.
Elizabeth, the tribe has spoken. Time to go.
Cheney was voted out as chair of the House Republican Congress. That's the 3rd most powerful leadership position in the Republican Party in the House. She was also censured by the Republican Party in her home state of Wyoming, and she will undoubtedly face a primary challenger in the next election.
Bring it on.
Cheney will not go quietly into the night and is planning to lead a rebel force of Republicans to take back the party from Donald Trump, who, by the way, is meeting with strategists this week in Bedminster, New Jersey for a 2024 run.
Are you the leader of the opposition in exile right now in the Republican Party?
I intend to be the leader, one of the leaders in a fight to help to restore our party, in a fight to bring our party back to substance and principles.
Yeah, that's not going to go well for her. The Republican Party seems to be solidly behind Donald Trump. Even though less than 40% of Americans would like to see Donald Trump run for president again, more than 70% of Republicans want to see him run in 2024. And since the election cycle starts with primaries split between the 2 parties, Trump is the clear frontrunner. In 1996, it was Massachusetts Governor Mitt Romney who the Republicans chose to run for president. But the Republican Party is now really just the tribe of Trump, and they've turned on him too. Romney is now a senator from Utah, and he voted twice to impeach Donald Trump. Listen to the reaction he got when he tried to speak to a Utah Republican convention.
Now, you know me as a person who says what he thinks, and I don't hide the fact that I wasn't a fan of our last president's character issues. And I'm also no fan.
The tribe has a list of Republican congressional members who voted to impeach Donald Trump that the National Party with Donald Trump in the shadows, plan to run primary challengers against. But it's not just the Republicans. Meet the most powerful man in the United States Senate. Joe Manchin is a Democratic senator from West Virginia, a state that Donald Trump won by a landslide. And in a Congress split 50 Republicans and 50 Democrats, Joe Manchin is always the deciding vote and stands in the way of many Democratic initiatives. The Democratic tribe would love to get rid of Joe Manchin, but they can't, and he knows that.
I don't think the Democrats will throw me out. Do you think? I'm not sure. I mean, where are they going to throw? I'm a good old West Virginia conservative Democrat.
It is interesting that his mic cut out when he said the word Democrat. The fact that Joe Manchin is comfortable appearing on Fox News is all you need to know about him. He has come out and said he will not vote for and would thus kill many Democratic initiatives, including getting rid of the filibuster, a federal election law, packing the Supreme Court, and making D.C. a state. But the Democrats know there's nothing they can do about it, because if they make Manchin mad, he'll either become a Republican or will be replaced by a Republican in the next election. In a deadlock Senate, they can't afford that. That doesn't keep Democrats from calling him Trader Joe on social media. But as long as West Virginia keeps reelecting him, and they do, he is beholden only to those voters. And that's the way it should be. Joe Manchin, Liz Cheney, and Mitt Romney and others are all interesting because they are free thinkers and they do not kowtow to political pressure. It is amazing to me that so many members of the two political tribes walk lockstep on every single issue. How many times have you seen it? That when something comes up from a vote, all the people of one party vote yes, and all the people of the other party vote no. These are highly educated, powerful people. Is it really possible that they are monolithic in two columns of thought? No, it's not possible. Too many of them have willingly given up freedom of speech and freedom of thought to two powerful political parties who entice them with campaign funds and threaten them with primary challenges. I don't always agree, well, with any politician, but certainly not Liz Cheney, Joe Manchin, and Mitt Romney, but I do appreciate them for doing what they believe and not being coerced into doing something or saying something they don't believe is right or true. You may not like it, but we need more of them. And finally, we are part of the problem. We should be voting for candidates who have conviction of purpose, who are smart and fierce and will stand up for us and not give in to the whims of a political party. Because after all, we all belong to a bigger tribe, bigger than Republicans or Democrats. We're Americans, and we pride ourselves in not being told what to do. I'm Larry Menti. We'll talk again soon.